I ran my fastest ever 10K last weekend. Well, I've never formally actually raced the distance, but we did a time trial back in the spring, about 2-3 weeks before my Carmel Marathon, where I went under 2 hours and 50 minutes. So that was really the only test of the distance I had before I raced it formally, and I ran even faster this time. It was an amazing experience. I have a love-hate relationship with this distance. Today I want to give a recap of the race, what I did right, what I did wrong, what I wore, how I felt and hydrated, and just how the race went in general. To give a bit of context, I'm in the best shape I think I've ever been, and I was not training for a 10K. This was strictly a tune-up race inside my Chicago Marathon training block, which just started. I'm about 5 or 6 weeks into an 18-week block. I'm already in some of my best shape ever. The reason for that is because I've stacked 3 marathon blocks on top of each other. I've been racing marathons for coming up on 6 years now, but I've never run 2 or more marathons in a year until last year. I ran Grandma's Marathon in June of 2022, where I ran a 3:03. I ran Chicago in the fall of 22, where I finally broke 3 hours, ran a 2:57, and then made the ambitious goal of going under 2 hours and 50 minutes in Carmel in April of 2023. So those 3 blocks were all stacked within a 16-month period? June, we'll call it 20 months. And from Chicago in the fall of 22 to April with Carmel in 23, it was the first time I've ever trained consistently through the winter, ever. And I really attribute that to my fitness now. Sprinkling in workouts during that whole time, doing formal marathon training block, in general, just having the volume needed to keep that kind of shape going. Whenever I wasn't within a formal training block, I was still trying to keep anywhere from 20 to 40 miles going a week. But now being 3 months fully removed from Carmel, I've been trying to keep within 35 to 45 miles a week. Now getting into my actual formal Chicago training block, I'm into 45 to 65 miles a week. And in running, it's really easy to think that you can hit certain times because you've hit them in the past, or you just expect to become faster for some reason, but something has really been clicking with me recently about consistency being the main driver of constantly pushing the needle and moving myself into faster times at any given distance. I did a 5K time trial with my friend Clark the other day at a 17:07, and then I clocked a 35:35 at this 10K. Earlier this year, I set a goal of my 10K being a 34:40 or faster. And really, with the shape I'm in right now, my goal for this race was to go 35:20 or faster. On Friday, I went to go get my bib at the expo, if you want to call it that. It was kind of in a weird location in the South Loop, which is near Soldier Field, so I guess it wasn't that weird. It was just kind of in the middle of nowhere. And they had validated parking, but I didn't know that. So I parked a mile away and then ran to get the bib. And ran back. Just more shakeout for the day before, you know? I paid to park a mile away. That was the stupid thing. I had to pick a Big Ten school to represent because it was the Big Ten 10K. My sister went to U of I, so I just chose U of I, even though I went to ISU, Illinois State. Go Redbirds, right? Chirp, chirp. Big sports guy over here. All right, morning of the race, I woke up at 4:30 a.m. and had a bagel and cream cheese because that's typically what I eat in the morning. I had a cup of coffee to get the digestion going. It worked. I had element powder in water, so just hydration, supplementation, electrolytes, all that good stuff. Pounded that whole thing. Made sure to go pee before the race as well. And then just plenty of water the night before. My kit was my Tracksmith singlet, my Rabbit half tights that I usually wear in marathons. I had Tracksmith ankle socks and this CLA cap, and my first time racing in the On Cloud Boom Echo 3. Very snappy shoe with carbon fiber plate, really reminiscent of the Endorphin Pro 3 that I've rocked in the past 2 marathons. Thanks for sending those on, I really appreciate it. Also, I've been rocking their Cloud Monsters for a lot of everyday training, and I'm very obsessed with that shoe, rivaling my Hoka Daily Trainers. And I might be getting the Cloud Surfer as well, which is really exciting. I knew there was gonna be rain that morning. I saw it forecasted the night before, but I didn't know it was gonna be as intense as it was. Got there. It's raining quite a bit. The rain's not looking great. So, we'll see. Parked about 3/4 mile from the race. Free parking on the street. I mean, if it's anything like my half marathon where I didn't film anything, I'm pretty sure at this pace, at 10K pace, 6 miles, I'm not gonna wanna film anything. So maybe try to capture the essence of the race and then wish me luck. And then just use that as a time to just get the legs going, walking over. And then I did a mile warm up, really chill. Thankfully, the rain had stopped by that point. I had a nice light sweat going, and I went into the corral and found one of my former clients, Brett. I filmed his wedding back in 2017. I had no idea he was gonna be there. It was really awesome to see him. It's my favorite thing at races. You just like get into a corral and you know someone, and you don't feel so lonely, and there's no more existential dread, you know? So my goal for this race was to go out at about 540 to 545 mile pace and do that for the first half. That felt like it would probably be comfortable enough to then negative split the second half, which is how you're supposed to race this distance based on my research and how I typically like to race any distance. Now, is that always the case? Does that always happen? Not necessarily. We came flying out of the gate. Big 10, 10K, let's send. And as we rounded a corner, some dude got wrecked on the first corner. I mean, like full on face plant into metal gate on the curb. I thought he died. It was one of those like, it happened and everyone running went, oh, and then he got up and passed me. I could not believe it. I don't know what ended up actually happening to him, but be careful on turns. That set the tone for how to take the turns for that race, that's for sure. I was extremely careful on turns. So I was trying super hard not to go out too hot and chase everybody that was flying. Within a mile, I found this pack of 4 guys that were going about 535 to 540 pace per mile. And I figured that's close enough to my goal pace. Maybe if they do this the entire race, I can hang on, I can draft off them and they could bring me in for my time goal. And really my time goal was right around that 540, 541 per mile mark to get the 35-20 or less. So the first few miles clicked off. It did not feel fun. It definitely hurt from the beginning. I know this distance isn't easy, and this is the love-hate relationship I have with it, is that it's challenging, it's fast, but it's a long time to kind of be in that pain cave. So all I did was I just tried to turn off my brain and just go with these guys and just match their cadence, tuck in with them, and zone everything else out. We got to the halfway point and I was still with them, but the 90-degree turns on this course, not a super ideal course, it was just on the lakefront path. So it wasn't super wide. They were running 4 across when I first ran into them. And the guy that was pacing the group said for everybody to move over, and I just kind of tucked in over on the right side with them as well. The first right-hand turn, which was about the halfway mark, was very wet and slippery, so we all took it super careful and wide, and then another right-hand turn after that. And there were a few other zigzag 90-degree turns where we all were kind of tiptoeing around the corner, which was really kind of brutal. And then throughout the path, on the way back, it wasn't a formal paved path. There was gravel and puddles. I didn't realize how much water was actually splashing up onto me and how nasty my half tights got throughout the race. So those elements weren't super great, and it was very, very humid. Not super hot, but really humid. Not to make any excuses, that's just what the conditions were, and get me really excited about the time that I got and what it could have been with really good conditions. About mile 4, 4.5, I started to feel that group of guys just kind of take off. It did feel like they did step on the gas. They started accelerating and I couldn't go with them. They dropped one of the guys in the group and then he actually ended up passing me as well. And at that point, I was just kind of out on an island trying to survive. But I was super thankful that through the end of the race, the last 2 miles, I was still able to maintain 555 mile pace or faster. The super brutal part about the end is that there were like 5 turns in the last 200 meters. I don't know why the course was designed this way. It was tiptoeing around every corner because it was wet pavement. Yeah, I just wanted to be able to sprint home and I couldn't do that. That was just another factor of getting closer to that 35-20 mark and not really hitting it. And then like an idiot coming into the home stretch with all the photographers photographing me, I panicked because I forgot to take out my phone to get the last clip. So all the photos at the finish line are me trying to get my phone out to film me crossing the finish line, and the footage sucks.
Welcome back, runners.
Oh, I finished 17th overall, which was really cool in a field of 2,000 plus with just a lot of people who don't normally run. It's just fans of the Big Ten network and went to Big Ten schools, but still placing in the top 20 felt really special and really cool. It was great to high five the people we ran with in the race, talk to those guys that were in the pack, voice our frustration with how humid and wet and slippery the course was. I typically don't stay long after races, and I made it a point to stay and talk to some people. Ran into a new friend, Jose, who told me he would be there. That was really cool to meet him. Caught up with Brett post-race, got some footage with him. I'm sure we'll be training a bit more this summer together, and ran into a high school friend, Greg. And I just love these moments post-race. I kind of did it at Carmel. I hung by the finish line for a while, and it's just so cool to see how the sport connects all of us in such a meaningful way. Like, I just wouldn't have seen those guys. I wouldn't have seen these people otherwise, and I don't want to take that for granted. It's really special and really cool. Greg and his friend asked me to take a photo of them, and I turned it to selfie mode and took a photo of myself. Overall, I'm really stoked with this race and how it turned out, being really 15, 16 seconds off my time goal given the conditions. I'm hopeful that by the fall, when that comes around, I can race this distance again, maybe come November when it's a lot cooler, maybe conditions are better, and I'm more fit in hopefully sub 242 marathon shape at that time. Then I can snag that sweet 34:40. It's really fast. Hopefully I'll see you there. Before then, I'll see you next week. Next time Floberg runs. Goodbye.